Come along with us for another Catalina 22 National Sailing Association cruise, this time October 2023. Our destination, the historic fishing village of McClellanville, some 35 miles north of Charleston. In this second video, we motor through the Intra Coastal Waterway, north from Capers Inlet to Jeremy Creek, and tie up at the Leland Oil Company dock in the town of McClellanville. Looking out towards the Atlantic Ocean from our anchorage at Capers Inlet, we anticipate the sunrise at 7:30. Looking over the stern beyond the dunes, a bank of clouds sets the stage for a dramatic yellow sky, and a flock of egrets fly in, as if ordered by central casting. Shorebirds gather on the beach to our starboard. Soon after the sunrise, we get underway for McClellanville, while our friends on Indigo head back to Charleston. We are escorted by a couple of bottlenose dolphins, something I always consider a good sign for another great day on the boat. At red marker 96, we turn north, making just 2.6 knots against the current. About 5 miles from Capers Inlet is Garris Landing, formerly known as Moore's Landing. It is the only part of the Cape Romaine National Wildlife Refuge that is on the mainland. It's best known as the spot where you can take the ferry to Bull's Island. But it is a first-rate birding destination in its own right. There's a long dock that allows you to get over 100 yards out into the salt marshes and the mud flats to look for birds. According to the Carolina Bird Club, it is one of the best places in South Carolina to view the marbled godwits in fall or winter, or American oyster catchers any time of the year. The Bull's Island Ferry Eco Tour pontoon boat takes visitors through the oyster-lined creeks to Bull's Island, while the captain and mate share their knowledge and passion about the refuge, the wildlife, and the regional history. Once on the island, visitors explore up to 16 miles of trails and 7 miles of sandy beach. Whenever we're cruising, I'm curious about the passing vessels. Oftentimes a little research reveals some interesting stories. This 2009 Celine 55 finish grade is for sale. Asking price, $1.2 million. Blue Yonder is a Valiant 40 cutter rig built in 1992. When she passed us near Graham Creek, she was headed for Florida. According to the Cruising Club of America, Blue Yonder has logged over 20,000 offshore miles, including winning first in class in the Caribbean 1500. About red marker 64, we do a little calculation and determine that our current speed of 4.3 knots, we ought to arrive in McClellanville around 3:30. I called Leland with our ETA. Meanwhile, we noticed signs of a seriously low tide along the shore. And caught a few more shots of shorebirds, including this great egret coming in for a snack. Great egrets were hunted nearly to extinction for their plumes in the late 19th century, sparking conservation movements and some of the first laws to protect birds. The great egret is the symbol of the National Audubon Society. A premier recreation area is situated on the site of the old Buck Hall plantation and provides the best access to the Cape Romaine National Wildlife Refuge. The campground sits at sea level alongside the Intercoastal Waterway. Part of the Francis Marion National Forest in South Carolina, the area is primarily used for shrimp baiting and fishing. Anglers can expect a huge variety of fish, including bass, flounder, sea trout, snapper, mackerel, and more. A portion of the Palmetto Trail, which leads from the marshes of the Atlantic Ocean to the mountains of South Carolina, is accessible from this recreation area. Most of the trail is unpaved, and a few sections are restricted to foot traffic only. Mudbanks and flats covered with oyster reefs mark Alwendaw Creek, a favorite for the paddlers making the passage down from the ICW to Bulls Bay. About 6 miles south of McClellanville, the ICW makes a turn towards the right and the current changes. The water widens as we enter the Harbor River at green marker 49. We pick up speed, clocking 5 knots and skipping over the wake of some unidentified powerboat. Here's another one. We like the lines of checkered past, a 1973 Solar Ketch motor sailor, which we learned has sailed transatlantic and over 15 trips to the Bahamas, Florida, and back to New England. The channel begins to narrow around green marker 43, and the chart shows a kind of oxbow just before Matthews Cut. On this day, we saw the water level drop from just over 13 feet to 7 feet in less than 2 miles. Just around the bend, we caught sight of a huge white vessel which seemed to be as wide as the channel. In a few moments, the cruising catamaran American Eagle slipped past us on her way from Baltimore, Maryland to Jacksonville, Florida. American Cruise Lines launched the American Eagle earlier this year in August of 2023. She's 243 feet long and has a beam of 56 feet. The 3,000-ton, 109-passenger vessel is a hybrid of river and expedition vessels, combining upscale features found on its riverboats with a swim platform and kayaks. She sure was kicking up the mud on the afternoon we encountered her, just 15 minutes from the entrance to Jeremy Creek. Jeremy Creek is named for the Native American seaweed chief Jeremy. He was given the last name Cacique, which simply means chief in the Spanish culture. It was explorers from Spain who first encountered the seaweed in coastal South Carolina around 1605. English colonists from Barbados settled in the Charleston area some 60 years later and brought with them the concept and culture of the plantation system. Chief Jeremy's daughter Elizabeth married one of the plantation owners and native Irishman, the sea captain John Collins. Captain Collins received land grants for Bull Island, Tibwin, and Buck Hall. The town of McClellanville developed in the early to mid-19th century when landowner and town namesake Archibald McClellan divided his Point plantation and sold lots to other planters from the St. James Santee parish. The planters built summer retreats along Jeremy Creek in the village. After the Civil War, the rice industry collapsed due to the loss of slave labor. Planters then relocated to town and established new lives as merchants and fishermen. Jeremy Creek leads into the Leland Oil Company dock, McClellanville's only marina. It is owned by McClellanville Mayor Rutledge B. Leland III. The oil company was founded by his father in 1948. The elder was also a shrimper and co-founded the Carolina Seafood. The marina is home to commercial vessels, but has plenty of transient space for our little fleet. Dockmaster Lacey welcomed us warmly, making sure that we had everything we need. Marina services include fuel and ice and basic shower and laundry facilities. We freshened up quickly and headed into town for dinner. The short walk along Oak Street led us to the Deerhead Oak. It's reported to be over 1,000 years old and is more than 30 feet in circumference. Our destination for dinner is the only restaurant in town, T.W. Graham. In operation since 1894, T.W. Graham & Company has a history central to McClellanville. Before it was a restaurant, it was a general merchandise store. In the 7 years since he's owned T.W. Graham & Company, Patrick Rooney has carried on the restaurant's legacy as a low-country seafood institution, going to the nearby docks on a daily basis to survey the fresh catch. They serve lunch Tuesdays through Sunday, but only serve dinner Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays. Community limits the street lighting to retain the night sky. We can hardly wait to see what we'll discover in the morning.